What's mission prep? Tell me what that's all about.
So I guess we'll start off with, introduce yourself to our listeners that don't already know who you are.
Okay. My name is Zachary Bell. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a writer, I'm an idiot. And I created, and I run Veteran with the Sign. It's an Instagram page and a Facebook page, and I think a Twitter and a TikTok, which doesn't really count. But that's it. That's what I do for a living, right now at least.
So what inspired you to do the Veteran with the Sign? I mean, I know there's the dude with the sign. I'm sure that's what was the inspiration, but how did that come about?
I don't know. So I've done a lot of things. I was in the Marine Corps for a certain amount of time, for 4 years. I deployed twice to Afghanistan. I was married. I got married. I had 2 children, and I just wanted to stop doing that after a while, being deployed. This is in 2007 to 11, bro. The GWAT was hot and counterinsurgency was cool. So it was
time, huh? Yeah.
Dude, it was the best. It was the best. Like I have like these memories of being in the back of like a Toyota Hilux, just like laying down hate, and it was fun. But it all came to an end, and I wanted to start over and figure out what to do. So my wife's about to walk upstairs. It's fine. Everyone, so I work at home. I'll tell you this: I work at home now. Everyone walks in my office like Kramer from Seinfeld. Like they all just like, bah, bah, bah. Like they've never come up here before, but now I do it. It's wild. But
that's part of having a family, man.
Yeah, it's so great. I'm so blessed. but you know, I wanted to work with veterans. So I worked at a nonprofit while I got my bachelor's and my master's. And then I worked in for-profit healthcare until 2020, and then 2020 hit, and I was super bored. And I've done some writing for different publications before, Task and Purpose, the Huffington Post, the New York Times, and I saw the dude with the sign thing, and I was like, that's something. You know, it's run by. Can I swear?
Oh yeah, that's the internet.
It's run by a media company called Fuck Jerry. So like the comparison between me and him is not even comparable. Like they're the guys that like control the ebbs and flows of the internet.
Oh, they're huge.
Like, they're huge. Like Instagram pitches them ideas is what I always say. And like me, I'm just an idiot. So, but what I found fascinating was the juxtaposition of a high level technology using analog, not even analog, using cardboard
to
like communicate a message. And it's the difference between like regular life and then the Sports Center top 10, right? I always say if aliens were to watch the Sports Center top 10 when Sports Center was relevant, they'd be like, man, these guys are really good at sports. They don't know it's the top 10 plays.
Yeah.
I know everything else that happens. So I was like, what if I could just communicate and really kind of hone in on a message that I'm trying to start a conversation. And then maybe I could talk people into like building a community and you know, communicating with each other in a more authentic and honest way, as opposed to the way most people communicate on the internet. And so that was the idea, and I started it in March of 2020.
Okay, yeah, because I think like I had seen your stuff on Instagram popping up, but me not being a veteran, some of the veteran humor and stuff I don't get. I get some of it. But I'd seen you on there and stuff, but to me, it didn't really resonate like it would with somebody who's a veteran, most likely, right? And then actually, when you had, I told this to her too, you had Nicole on hold a sign that said you don't have to be a veteran to, what exactly did it say? It was,
you have to be a veteran to care about veterans.
Yeah. And that resonated with me like big time. And then I kind of got more involved with following what you were doing after I saw that. And
y'all interviewed Tier and Nicole, right?
Yeah, we had Tier and Nicole on. Yeah.
Charlie Martell.
Yeah. Well, Charlie, no, they're good people. They're really good.
You know, he's like the deadliest man ever. Do y'all know that?
I love that dude. But
he's a teddy bear. He's a big bear. I love him. I love you, Tier. I love you, Nicole. Congratulations on your engagement.
We were actually there for that. for their engagement.
Way to one up me, bro.
Where were you? No, it was they're good people. But yeah, so I had told her that like seeing that meant a lot to me because I agree. You don't have to be a veteran to help or to.
No, I don't think I don't. That's part of the idea. The idea is to start with like the military veteran world is like a base of fire or like a center of gravity.
Mm-hmm.
And then to kind of expand out from that, I want to like build conversations and stuff. And I had met Tara Nicole and like, I don't even know, a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, hey, do you want to do one? She's like, I'm not a veteran. I was like, say less. I don't need everybody to be a veteran. Like there's enough veteran stuff out there. So that was really where we kind of started with the idea of it.
All right, so I muted mics for a second there. We had yelling kids.
Yeah. What I gravitated towards was the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't, and I don't want to be polarizing when I say this comes off wrong, but there's a lot of like, you know, on the lower end of the bell curve, there's a lot of veterans that sit there, right? And they do a lot of things that are just too on the nose or just too like, you know, they're not intelligently done, right? And so the way you did it was subtle with the nuances, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made it, I think, after watching you, because when I first started seeing you, I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. You know, I was like, this is awesome. Like I'd always like it and everything, but and that's what I liked about it. You know, it wasn't like, it's not shit like, oh, you have a college education by 8214. Like, shut the fuck up. Like that's the dumbest thing you could say.
You know, I know that guy.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like the guy where the round explodes. You know what I'm talking about? The famous Marine photo.
Yeah.
I know him. His name's Bill B. I was there when that happened. We had just left, but like hours later, where it's like, tell me how hard it was, and that picture's everywhere. It's really wild to see it, actually.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So when people say it's like, you know,
he didn't make it. Other people have.
Right. Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so that's what I respected about it. That's why it wasn't, you know, it's not just silly to be silly. It's like, no, we can make a good point and keep it simple. Like I said, with cardboard, and it's a dude with tattoos with cardboard making a message, and it resonates with other people that are like-minded. People like, I get it, right? Like I get it, and then I'm going to tell people about it. And so, like you said, it's a very simple way to start that platform to grow into something else. I think, you know, that's how I see it. That's how I, you know, from the outside.
Well, it's like you said, the simplicity, and that's not saying simple in a derogative way either. Simple can be fucking awesome.
You know what? Interview over. I'm done.
Right.
Damn it. Okay.
No, I mean, you know.
No. You're hitting all of the things. This like warms my heart, right? Because it took a while. It took a long time, right? So people forget during the pandemic, whatever stage we are in now, when everyone was staying home, and it was just like, I had a blast. Like the first few months, it was awesome. Me and my wife and my two daughters, we made a fort downstairs. It was like for a solid month. It had to have been a month because we like made a pathway, and it was just, I just had these ideas, and I've always liked writing, and I've wanted to get back to it. So I decided it needed to be like a writing project. Like multimedia is, and storytelling is kind of an evolving platform, right? If you look at like a lot of articles now, more so than ever, and every single day you'll hit like a paragraph, and then you hit like a plug-in video or whatever it is to like keep you on the page, right? Realistically. So I was like trying to think of it that way. Like I wanted to make a multimedia experience that was just more than what it appears to be. But the first March, April, and yeah, I was going to shut it down like May 1st was the decision I had made. There was a lot of emphasis on my outfit and a lot of emphasis on my tattoos. And I was just like, dude, this is just not working. People weren't getting it. I think people have been conditioned to expect a certain thing out of the internet in general, like that it is like the highlight reel. And I was really just trying to, and I still try to like strip down all of that as much as I humanly can, right? Because I have a message that I'm trying to communicate, or a conversation that I'm trying to have, and it was not happening. Because it's just my gym clothes. I got out of the Marine Corps and I had a ton of these like green skivvy shirts. They're just undershirts for your uniform. And I'm a very, very simple person, as my well, I like to think I'm simple. I'm sure my wife would say otherwise, but like, it's just, I pick it up, it's green, right? There's nothing really to it. I grab some black shorts and like I'm out the door. Like, that's all there is to it. It's like that Steve Jobs thing, or that, I think he got it from Albert Einstein. It's just one less thing to think about. And so I was like, well, that doesn't really show like who I am as a person. It's really just something I'm using to like go run and get sweaty. And so I can like recreate that. And so like that was it. But
yeah, don't ever convolute things. I mean, it's a disease, because then it's from your clothes. Like, for instance, like, again, I can't bother myself. A lot of vets can't, with like being the guy who tucks in a plaid shirt and wears those pointy fucking brown shoes. You know what I mean? Like, or what are those called? Like, simple.
That's called a staff sergeant outfit. Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, like,
yeah.
You always want to wear something like, can I kick someone's ass or run away when what I'm wearing right now?
Yeah, and Pat McNamara talks about that a lot. T-Max. Yeah. No, he makes fun of Jocko Willink for wearing flip-flops.
Yeah. Dude, I can't work. I mean, to the pool, yeah. But
that's about
in
it.
public, especially dudes who wear like jeans and flip-flops, I'm like, dude, I could kick your ass, bro. Like,
I mean, that's
stomping toes.
I don't know. He might know something. He might have been around the block.
No, Jocko's pretty damn good at jiu-jitsu, so I wouldn't.
A gorilla.
But
but no, like I agree. And I'm kind of the same way when it comes to how I dress. It's pretty plain and simple.
Yeah.
And like right now I'm wearing like an athletic shirt, breathable shirt, like nothing fancy. And it's I don't know, it's easier. It's less to think about, like you said, as much as my wife would probably like me to dress nicer.
Yeah. Well, it was one less thing. And so I was like, this doesn't, it's like a character, like it's a hyperbolic version of who I am. A friend of mine, Max Uarte, is Terminal Lance, right? And he always says like Terminal Lance is like him all the way up, right? And so that's how I think about it. Like, it's me all the way up. Like, it's somebody who refers to himself as warfighter, which is really cringe, right? But like that's the name of the person and the idea of it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the same way there's, I won't say superheroes, that's all I can think of in the moment. Like, it's an identity.
Yeah.
Right?
That's funny that you said, because when you emailed me, I saw it said warfighter, and I'm like, I'm like, oh, is he this guy? Shit. But
the guy that emailed you did. I'm not.
Yeah.
No,
that was your
it's
character.
Fun. Well, it's fun. It's like I put on a thing, right? And it's probably how I want to act.
Yeah.
Because it's like right there. It's all in the front of my brain, but it's like the back of me is like, bro, we're 33. We gotta.
Yeah.
You got
like
kids, man.
We got kids. It feels a lot like I just watched the trailer for Venom. Like Eddie Brock, and he's like walking around, and he's like, come on, let's go eat people. And like, that's what's in my head. And it's like, come on, let's go PT. Don't be weak, you know? And so that same person like looks at everything and was like, oh, is a 7-day store open still? Like, that was one I made during COVID. And that was kind of a turning point. But I mean, the big turning point of it was Captain Crozier, when he decided that his ship needed to be treated and all the stuff he did. Like, I held up a sign and it just said, bring back Captain Crozier. And it was May 1st. It was the day I decided to change it. And it just literally just took off. It was like a few hundred people and a few hundred. It wasn't even 100. I barely get, like, engagement was really low and all these different things. And it's not, for me, it's not, I'm not looking for likes or comments or anything. What I'm looking for is like the quality of the conversation. And it was like the first time nobody mentioned my really bad tattoos. And I was like, okay, there's something here. And it went from like a few hundred followers to 1,000 overnight. And I was like, oh, okay, that was wild. And then pretty much ever since then, it's just gone on a path where I can't really predict where it's going to go.
Yeah.
Or the effect it's going to have.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess that's a good segue to talk about what we were talking about before we were recording, was with the unfortunate shit that's gone down the past couple of days. And then you made the post with a sign, and you if you want to say what the sign said, but like I said, I saw so many people that I follow sharing that, and big people with big followings sharing that. And so I'm sure that was a little crazy on your end. And I'm sure you weren't out there trying to get notoriety off of an unfortunate situation, but you were, like you said, you're trying to start a conversation. And I think that's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. It was the one I did for incident with the Marines and Afghanistan. I'm trying to talk about this as respectfully as I can.
Mm-hmm.
It's all just happened. I know this is posted sometime next week and it'll still be fresh and it'll always be fresh.
Yeah.
But my wife and I were sitting down actually. And like I said, it's just been a lot of big changes. Like it used to just be something that my wife would say, like, why you got to make jokes on the internet for like you and your 10 friends? And I would always say, because it's funny. And it went from that to like having people to be more involved and more attention to like this transition to where it's a place where like, I don't want to say like I felt like I had to say something, but I feel like in some level it's tapped into like a cultural zeitgeist a little bit of that. I have been very fortunate to find like this lane that again I don't understand and I don't deserve. And it said no man left behind means something to the rest of us, right? And I just like put it up and I was getting dressed. I was like, all right, I gotta go do some stuff. And she's like, I think this one's like gonna go crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked and it just continued to grow. And I think I had like 74,000 or something followers at that time on Instagram. And now it's up to 82 in just a few days. It's kind of been on this constant trajectory as it's grown because I've continued to expand the audience because ultimately I want it to be a bridge between the military civilian world. And so that's including stuff like, you know, reaching out to people like Nicole and other people. Like I got Tulsi Gabbard to do it.
Oh, really?
It's crazy. Yeah, it's insane. It's insane. She ran for president. I like kind of not like you know, old boy down the road, you know, who puts his name on the ballot.
Yeah.
Like she like legitimately ran for president. And I was like, that was like mountaintop.
Yeah.
And like this, it shifted into this new, I think it's like a new era of responsibility to where like I've been doing it since March 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So for like the first time ever, I feel like responsible. Not responsible. I'm aware that I need to be more responsible of the platform I have and a positive light beyond just making jokes about the military as a whole.
Yeah.
And that's actually very, very new to me because it's gone through a lot of iterations. Like in June of 2020, it was doing, the page had got up to a certain, I don't know how much it was, doesn't matter. It was doing really well, and I was able to get, you know, sponsors and stuff, and because my only real goal was that I just can't have it cost me money, right? Because that's just like, it can't cost me money and time, right? Because I have to, like, the justification of it to my family, because it does take a lot of time. I actually do spend a lot of time like thinking about what I'm going to say. And once we passed that, I was like, all right, cool. And in 3 weeks, I was I don't know if anybody knows this. I was hospitalized because I have this thing where I met with the 107 Foundation, and I have this really adverse reaction to ibuprofen, like so much so to where I had to be hospitalized for it. And then the next week, my best friend, he lost his battle, and then after that, I got laid off on my 13th wedding anniversary. So like 3 weeks in a row, it's just pop, pop, pop. Rough. And I wasn't really sure what to do with it or anything for that matter. And I was like, I don't know. Like, I feel like there's something here that I should just keep moving this forward. And that's really what's kind of kept me on the path now. But this latest transition has been just way more than I anticipated.
Right.
And it's all very positive, but it's nothing short of like overwhelming, to say the least.
You're in I don't mean this in a negative way. You put yourself in a vulnerable space, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's really hard going from, you know, essentially what we were doing like from 2007, 2013, right? And then to try
to, the one the war shifted. Yeah.
Yeah. And to try to be now this other person, you know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah.
And to be okay with being vulnerable and then doing it on the social media platform where it's like, you know what? Like I've been through some shit, but now I've got to be open to ridicule, but hopefully some love and some positivity as well, you know, from real people.
Yeah.
And so just to kind of push through that, I mean, that's cool on its own. A lot of people, a lot of vets really can't stomach that. You know what I mean? Going through that.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks. I mean, I remember when I was a team leader, I like had opinions, right? You're a team leader. Yeah. You're in charge of like 3 or 4 people. And you're just like, all right, I got an idea. And you tell your squad leader and you go about your way. And then when you become a squad leader, you like have decisions to make and it's just like left or right. And it feels a lot like that sometimes, like kind of that I have to like move forward once more through the breach, as they say, regardless of the outcomes. And it's just a hard fact of that. I started all this because I've lost more people after war than I did to it. And I think a lot of that just comes down. There's a lot of different reasons. I don't want to devalue any reason, but like when I bring it down to like its core idea, I think it's because we weren't as honest as we all should be, myself included. Because it's, you know, you talk to your friends, you're like, how you doing? Like, I'm fine, bro. But like deep down inside, you want to be like, things suck, you know, like I'm just not happy. And you know, I think overall the best way for any of us to move forward and to process trauma is to be honest with it. And so that's ultimately what I want to do, is to keep doing what I'm doing now into a place to where it becomes kind of like there's this page called Faces of New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Have you guys heard of it? Cool.
Yeah.
Guy just tells stories with people, and I want to be a place where ultimately stories are told of military service, any type of service really. I just want people to tell a story about a moment they overcame, and I'd like to, and that's like where I want to continue to move it forward as, right? Because I think that's how we can learn the most from each other, is by being more honest and having like authentic conversations. I like to say that I use a communication style known as radical candor, but realistically I'm just more blunt than I should be. Kind of is what it is.
Yeah.
And but I think we learn the most about ourselves and each other by doing that, because everyone's really kind of putting on airs even when you're not aware of it.
Oh yeah. Well, that's something we've talked about on here 1,000 times, like especially with Kevin here over the years. Because I mean, you probably don't know our backstory. We grew up together. I was his friend when he went off to war. I was his friend when he came back from war. He was a little bit of a different person. I've seen a lot of changes. And over this last couple of years, I've seen him do exactly what he was just talking about, have some vulnerability and be able to kind of talk about some shit. And I think that's important in anybody's life, veteran or not. If you have shit going on and you have problems, like find that person you can confide in and talk with them. And I'm not a professional by any means, but I'm there for my friend. Right. And so I'm an open ear, and he's gone through shit in his life that people who listen to the show know about. And especially over the past year. And I've been kind of his sounding board, like, just fucking talk to me, man. If I can help you, if I can give you advice, I will. And I think what you were saying is exactly right. If you're open and honest, that's what's going to help people. And it's also going to, other people that are not open and honest right now, that see somebody like yourself with a big following and all that, being open and honest and being vulnerable, maybe that'll lead them down that path too.
And you know what, too, like, to piggyback off that, one of the most untalked about things, at least maybe from my perception, is for therapy, is the purpose in the group aspect. Because there's days where I feel like I can't leave the house, but I've got to go to school. Like, especially, you know, before COVID, I'm part of I'm in the physics program. So I do the astronomy and astrophysics club. So we do like research stuff. So it's like a big group of us together. So these aren't veterans in there. Actually, there is one who's in there, but we get together and all of a sudden that's all gone. They're like, everyone's together and we have a common goal, a common purpose of what we're doing. And it's all gone. It's fucking gone, you know? And then you look up at the fact that it's like, I don't want to say codependent, but anytime we've gone through hard shit, we had guys around us, you know, you had at least 5 guys around you all the time. And then you get out, they take your guns away and they say, go play nice, and your friends are gone. Now this is my battle and my battle alone. You know, that's why it's so fucking hard to watch, because I love those movies, the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit, because that's the story he was telling. Because when he fought World War One,
he fought in World War One, and it's all the hero's journey,
and he's done at the end, and he's by himself, and he's like, "Fuck!" Like the mission's over, and we're individuals again. Like that's so fucking hard.
Yeah,
you know, we can talk about the trauma and the trauma we hold, right, when we experience something and it's going right back to there. We don't even know we're there again. We can talk about all that, but and that's all very valid, but we've lost that brotherhood that we have from having every day to having, you know, it's just you're writing your own op orders every day, you're raising your kids, you know, and it's just like, yeah, that's a big part of it. I think trying to get people together to do shit together is really helpful.
Well, yeah, and like I was saying, just being able to talk and find somebody you can confide in with shit is so helpful. And like, this is something like the grieving process when somebody dies that you are close with, you have to find a way to grieve. And that's something I actually haven't even talked about on this podcast yet. I lost my dad not too long ago. And I was talking to my wife today, like, I don't think I know how to grieve. Like, I kind of like, if I just don't think about it, it's going to go away. And then all of a sudden a wave will hit me and I'm like, fuck, I'm sad. And my wife said that to me today. She's like, you haven't taken any time to grieve. And I'm like, I don't even know if I know how to grieve. Like, that is my grieving, is just put it deep inside that suitcase and close that fucker up, because then it's going to go away. And I know one day it's going to all just come flowing out.
Yeah. 6 months.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate, but I think like if you have someone to talk to, like Kevin, I'll talk to him too, or my wife is somebody I can talk to about shit that's going on with me. If you find that person, doesn't have to be a bunch of people, but if you find a person that you can trust and you can confide in and be vulnerable with, I think that's helpful for everybody, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I think grief is a circle. I think it's like a record that just plays. You're just kind of unaware of it as time passes. I mean,
it's not linear, you know. It's
not. It's especially because the relation you have with people, it's like tied in like moments in your life, and the moment you think you're over it, you're kind of coming back around. Definitely is tied to the chronological year as a whole, but I don't think anybody really knows how to grieve realistically, except for like what you described. That's like, I think that's the way a whole generation of men and women across the board in our age is just like, just put it away. And then like next thing you know, you're in the woods chopping down trees, screaming.
Well, I mean, we got used to getting, I mean, it's not veterans as a society, like, oh yeah, you need a pill for that, you need this for that, you need this for that. But isn't grieving dealing with hard truths? Isn't it just a hard time? There's bad and then there's hard, right? Like, things are just fucking hard. We have to accept, hey, shit's hard. Running up a fucking mountain with a pack on is fucking hard. You don't just say, you know what, I'm going to go 200 feet and turn around because it's got hard and I got sweaty. Your emotions are the same way. I mean, shit is hard. You have to get through it. You have to work through it. And the shitty part is when you get to that point where it's like, I'm so scared of my emotions, I don't know what's going to happen because I have to get rid of this, right? And that's what causes suicide. Like, it's so overwhelming. And so it becomes not just hard, but then hard and unmanageable, because a lot of times it's not that the resources aren't there. It's we don't know how to use them, or we don't know how to reach out to people,
Yeah. We don't know where we are on the circle.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I think I'm past it, but it's right there. You can feel the heat on the back of your neck.
Yeah.
And like my friend who passed, I don't want to say his name, it's not my place, but I always think of like really cool things that have happened in my life lately, and my whole life's fascinating. I barely understand it, but like I'll go to call him and I'll just be like, damn, I can't call him.
Yeah.
And that's like where I'm at with that now. It's been a year since he's gone, but it's just like, oh, I guess that's that suitcase isn't as packed quite as tight as I thought it was.
Yeah.
And I've tried to be more aware of it now than ever. I think the greatest blessing I've had as of late is time to reflect. Again, that's why I say, I know the pandemic's been hard on people, and yeah, I don't ever want to shortchange that for their experience. But for me, since I got out, I've been running. I got out, I had a wife and 2 kids. I had to earn, I had to go to college, I had to do all these different things. And it was the most, this was the most amount of time I've ever spent with my family ever. And when I slowed down, I was like, oh, well, I need to put some things in place that I didn't really realize. Because I mean, I have 2 daughters in middle school. And I want to say they're who they are, but they're pretty much well on the path of people they want to be. And now it's just like I'm buffering. Like I'm just the bumper lanes in the bowling alley of life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I'm just trying to help them best I can, but I know eventually I'm going to have to let them, take that shot on their own. And so it's hard to do that, but it's one of the greatest joys of being a parent, being able to see them go through these different trials and tribulations. But now is where I'm trying to think of like what to do next. I think about my friend and like how much I just miss him. And that's the hardest part of, like, you think about those moments where like the connections were there and maybe something you overlooked. And ultimately I know that it was a decision he made, and ultimately those are decisions people make on their own regardless of input, resources, or things that are out there. But I will go into my grave doing whatever I can to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Mm-hmm.
That's where everything started from. Like, it's not about likes or comments or followers. It's like I always go back to the quality. Like, are people really understanding the message I'm trying to say? And if that works, then that works, right? Because I honestly can't predict what I think will be funny or engaging, because every time I do, it's 100% wrong, like without question, wrong. Like, I thought that was the last one I did wasn't going to work at all. Not at all. Like, none whatsoever. Like, I have an idea of what I think might work, but usually it doesn't. And then I'm fascinated by things that do. Like, I'm doing one post and it was like, good PT scores will make good leaders. And I was just like, whatever. Like, I guess, like, I've never thought that. It took off like a rocket. People wanted a shirt out of it. And so I made a shirt out of it. And it's the number one selling shirt I have. And so it's like, okay, all right.
I remember when I saw that and I was like, I immediately agreed at fit, because when you look at the face value, you're like, yeah, absolutely. And then you're like, okay, if you look at nuances, someone has a PT score, do they just have good genetics, or is it because they work really fucking hard and that shows in their character? Maybe they're
an officer.
Yeah, right. So it's like you never know. But at face value, it's like, yeah, it's attractive as fuck. You can overthink it all day as much as you want, but the cool thing is sometimes at face value, you see something that's like, yeah, it clicks. Because I thought the same thing. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah. And then, it's just like trying to like stay in that headspace. Like, I just kind of put them all as like a narrative. And like, there is a story I'm constantly trying to tell. And it'll be like ups and downs, but I'll always trying to bring it back to center, which is like talking about, mental health, or talking about communicating with people and the mission as a whole. Right. And sometimes they're just stupid, or like they don't make sense if you like look at it as like an individual. But for me, I'm telling a story like all across the grid, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Like you said, like that bridge between veterans and civilians, it's working, because here I am, a civilian who saw that one thing, and then I started following you, and
jackpot.
Yeah, exactly. And then like the shit.
All your civilian friends.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, like
yeah.
And then like the military humor shit I don't get. This is my go-to guy, Kevin. I'm like, hey, what the fuck's this mean?
I'm trying to expand on that constantly, like not just military centric stuff. Like, I feel it's not low hanging fruit, but like it's just some of it's I'm trying to get outside of it. Like, I made a joke about compression shirts the other day, and like that was just because I remember this guy told me he wears like compression shirts, and I was like, why? And he's like, it smooths it all out, like in between his like good workout seasons and bad workout seasons. And I was like, that's kind of like dude shapewear. And I just like put it away, and I didn't think about it anymore. And then like that was it. Like, that has nothing to do with the military. It's something I wanted to say.
Yeah, that was a funny one. Yeah, like that's for everybody.
See, like, I feel like I go on waves of being like pretty funny what I want to do, and more like deep and stuff. And I was actually going to send you one, but like, honestly, like I'm just too,
Just send it.
I'm
just do it. Y'all can do one and I'll put it up.
Okay. So
funny.
Mine is, I guess it doesn't matter if I just tell you, but so mine's actually the quote that's on my wall right now. Because mine is a lot about, because I've had two friends that have died since the war. I've had friends that died in the war, saw them die, after, from accidents, from suicide, everything, right? And it's the quote from the first Blade Runner. When he's talking about, the wars he's seen, and then he ends it with, all those moments lost in time, like tears in the rain. So it essentially applies very well to that. Like everything that person has done, where you experienced it with them, is gone. Right? Like tears in the rain because of something that the battle he was in, right?
It's really good, actually.
Yeah. And so I don't know. I'm just
edit this out. No, that's really good.
Yeah. But that's the one I want to do and send you. For me, it's I know this is very typical of veterans. Even as much as I've like healed, I have a hard time with people being able to see me. You know what I mean? Like going into public or going to a road and doing something like that is very overwhelming for me. You know what I mean?
Oh, bro.
I don't think that's a veteran. No, I think that's a human thing because I'm the same, and I'm an outgoing. I'm a social butterfly. But when it comes to people, I don't even like talking on my phone around other people. I don't want people to hear what I'm saying. I think that's just a human thing.
Yeah, bro. I made a fake person, so I'm not gonna judge you. Like that's not Zach standing out there. God, I hope it's not. Like it's a hyperbolic version. Like it's cranked all the way up, and so like I was thinking about that recently. Like there's, and it's just a thing now that like military culture has like permeated like all levels of life, right? Like to a point now where you see like I get a little weirded out when I see like military fashion, like in modern day stuff, and I'm not talking about like high end stuff. Like Warm and Fuzzy makes some really good stuff. Forward Observation Groups does well too. But like I've seen like really big brands and they have like different tricolor pants. I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about that. Right. I just don't know. Like I think it all started with like putting Uncle Sam on everything. And but ultimately I don't feel like it's my place to judge. It just makes me feel some type of way about it. I think if I saw like people rocking like, oh no, I have seen it. People rocking like the old school Navy pea coats. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I like it. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. I think it's cool, but it's still like it's kind of weird. And I think ultimately those are things that can be used as a connection between two worlds because we're the most public tribe that's really self-isolating. Like we love to be an island in the center. We're like Manhattan. Like we're an island in the center of the world. We don't want anybody to know this, but we want people to know that we're there. I don't get it, but
right. Well, I think like you were saying about the bridge between veterans and civilians, that's an important thing because there's a lot of people like myself. I've always been very fascinated with military culture, veterans. I have a lot of friends that are veterans.
Yeah.
And like, I think there's a lot of people like me who are very fascinated by that, who never experienced that. And it's like you're on the outside looking in, which that's how it will always be because we have not experienced that. But if there's some kind of bridge, and then, like I grew up, my dad was a Marine actually. And so I grew up a little bit around the, veteran style humor and that type of stuff. But guys doing like what you're doing, it is cool to see a bridge there and like bring other people kind of into the fold to kind of get your guys' humor and stuff like that,
Yeah, I think it'd be horrible if all my friends are veterans. Personally, like I don't know what we'd all talk about. Like, did you see the thing? Yeah, I saw it. Like, I also think we miss opportunities in life when you isolate that way. Like the first job I had. How many people know this? The first job I had after the Marine Corps. I went to an interview at a hotel in Nashville, and it didn't go well. The interview didn't go well at all. That's an understatement. It went bad. I went in there, and I had just got out. I was 6 months out of the war, and I think I damn near wore my combat boots in with my suit. But I was this infantry squad leader at the time when I'd left, and they're like, "Do you think you can handle like security in this hotel?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I'll be all right, you know." And I gave an interview, and at the end of it, I was like, "Well, how'd I do?" And they go, "Well, you're like woefully unqualified." And then I kind of made a scene. I made my way out of there, but I ended up getting a job at a hospital in town as a medical receptionist on a night shift, and it was a real hit to my ego on some levels because I just gone from being in charge of 12 people and to a point to where like I was now just like some kid that was seen as like a 22, 23-year-old that nobody really understood. And everyone else was like, what'd you do before this? And I was like, I was in the Marines. They're like, okay, yeah, sure. But I was like, no, no, I was good at it. And they're like, but why are you here? And I was working night shift and I was going to school full time. I did it for like 3 or 4 years. It was a grind. I don't even remember most of it, but I remember like working in healthcare, especially around nurses, that I realized that trauma is universal, and that there were a lot of people that were just like me that were there. They just had scrubs on, and that was like a real eye opener to me. That like I might have put myself in a place where I thought I was uniquely individual, and the reality was I was just part of one tribe, and I might have found a place another. And to a point now to where like most of my friends are in healthcare. And Nashville is the healthcare capital of the world because of the world's largest healthcare company is based here. And almost everything's tied to it. But it kind of made me realize like, oh, there's other things that are out there. Like people that, I was like, people that work in healthcare, if you work in a hospital, somebody dies every day. It doesn't matter if you're good or bad. That's just reality of it. And I remember like, oh, these people that like, you're like me, like it's that that meme with Charlie and Mac from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, right? Like I like saw them, they saw me, and I was like, oh, the force is strong with you. Like you've got this thing too.
Yeah.
And they're still my friends this day, some of them. Actually most of them, matter of fact. And it was I never thought I'd get there by being a medical receptionist, but I did. So.
Dude, you never know. I remember.
Like, does that make sense? Am I making? I'm rambling.
You're good.
I'm having my Kill Clip CBD, and I'm just having a good time.
Need some of that. No, like before.
I'll call him. Don't worry.
Before and when I started college, I was. Ask your sister. I was getting dude, I was Ubering, and so I'm like picking up like 19-year-olds who are just like little fuckers, dude.
And he's like, yeah, what's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome. Yeah. What were we driving?
You want a fucking 3-piece in a soda, motherfucker?
Yeah, you want 3 pieces of soda? I'll lay you out. Hey, you throw up on him, I'm gonna crack your head.
Yeah, dude, I was driving a Subaru Forester, so I got called like a lesbian a lot and stuff. But like I actually did.
So you like roll up. You're like, hey, welcome to the forest. Hop on in.
Dude, no, here's what I actually did do. So,
hey guys, we can edit this small part out if we need to. Or our listeners can hear the laughing children.
Hey, it's life.
It is life. We're good. Let's keep going.
I mean, the
kids are fine. Yeah, dude. We all used to get left out in cars that were running. They'll be fine.
No, I get to get in a couple scuffles though during the Uber times, and it wasn't because I was instigating anything. Like a guy peeing on my car, so gladly I dropped his on his fucking head. And he was lumberjack fuckers too. So, but no, like so when I saw guys, I could tell we're gonna be little fuckers,
a little spicy.
Yeah. These had electric chairs in this. It was a nice Forester, so I could make it go up as high as I wanted, dude. So they'd get in, my head be touching the ceiling. You're like, God damn, like, do you play football, BSU?
Bro, you raise the seat,
dude. Because I'm kind of thick, dude. So I raise the seat up. It makes sense that I could be 6'5" because I'm a thick boy, and
good for you,
dude. It worked out. It helped out, dude. That honestly stunted a lot of fights, to be honest with you. So.
You get it on phone books. They still be like, that kid's 5'7" all day,
dude. You get drunk people like I did Uber too. We were both doing it at the same time.
Yeah.
And Boise's not like a crazy city, but it's a college town, and there's a lot of drunk college kids. And man, they'd get wild sometimes, but usually all you'd have to do is like set the tone real quick, and then they'd be all right.
Dude, Nashville's blown up a lot, and at the time. It was like still small town, and I'd even looked at that, but it just didn't work with my schedule. But I've done on and off security and stuff, and like the big thing around here now is these tractors and stuff, and they'll like pull girls around and like it's just like a John Deere like driving down Broadway, and it's just like shake it, mama, shake it, shake it, shake it, mama, and then just all over the place. Yeah. It's wild, and
like the bike bars and shit we have.
The pedal taverns. Like every time I've gone to like help a buddy out who does like, hey man, you'll stand in, I'll give you like cash or whatever, and you're like, okay, I'll do it. It's always the worst experience.
It is,
because people are wild, especially when they get a few little adult sodas in them. They get out of hand. And,
a couple bumps.
I have no idea what you're talking about. But
no, not you. I mean, dude. It is. Anytime you get into a social environment, you can just sense like this is danger. You know, I told this on a previous podcast, but you know, I started kind of trying to date again. So I went on a date with a girl, and then witnessed an altercation between two guys, and one guy got one punch, almost homicided. And so like, and clearly, and it's like, you can almost feel it in air before it happened, you know, and he happened to land right next to me on his head, bleeding out of his head. And, you know, and no one was helping. But of course, like I just reacted by like almost fucking the other guy up. Cause it's like eliminate the threat first. Right. He didn't do anything. So I immediately calling one, started timing this guy. It was like 3.5 minutes before the first breath, 5 minutes before his eyes even moved. Like, so I had like sort of like chest compressions and shit on this motherfucker. And so he finally did come to. It was like, dude, you're out for a long fucking time. Like, you're going to be fucked up for a while.
Yeah.
But no, he made it. And so it's just like, I sensed it before it was going to happen. Like, something just feels wrong. This is too social of an environment.
That's a real thing.
People are just being fucking weird. Like, and it's always the worst. It's the worst.
I hate it.
It's not fun.
I hate it. It's probably the one thing I wish I could shake. It's like a superpower. Because like once you've been like around, high danger or just intense situations, you can always like feel it. You're like, oh, okay. And then like you talk about like reacting, like my kids know if I see someone on the side of the road, I'm just like, oh, all right, we'll like go help them, do whatever it is. I mean, that's something I picked up from my grandfather, actually. He always did that. But it's weird to see like danger starting to happen. Like you're like, oh, do we have to stay? Like, I don't want to stay. I don't care if they're doing 2-for-1s. I just want to go home. And sure enough, it just, past 11 o'clock, it starts to get a little wild anywhere, any state, any time zone.
That's a real thing. Like even like think like the UFC, when you go to watch it live, there's so much violence in there. There's a feeling in that fucking building. And like when me and Kevin went and watched UFC live, that whole crowd was so amped up on testosterone.
We'll fight.
And sure as shit, 2 or 3 rows behind us, a fight broke out.
Yeah.
And
that was one of the worst nights of my life, dude.
Oh yeah. He talked about anxiety attacks. This guy was
like, I had a fucking migraine. I couldn't like see, like, cause the bright lights are bright.
We were right under the speakers.
I was like, dude, I'd rather be out, like, cause I was a sniper. So I was like, I'd rather be going out in fucking 1 to 3 a.m. in the morning and setting up somewhere.
Yeah.
And then I
pooping in an Nalgene. Yeah,
dude. I'd rather sitting here on all these fucking loud people.
Well, it was weird because like when the actual fights were on, the crowd was cool because they were concentrated on the fight. And Kevin was cool. Like everything he was watching the fight, and then I don't know if you've ever been to a UFC, but between every fight, they have music start playing. You know, there's time.
Yeah, got to keep that energy.
Yeah. And between every fight, it did get. I'm not sensitive to lighter sound, and it was too fucking loud and bright for me. And so me and Kevin would get up and do walks around the fucking arena until the next fight would start. But yeah, that's when that fight broke out, was between fights.
Yeah.
And that's a real thing, man. The adrenaline in the air is like I used to be a bouncer at a bar. That's a much smaller scale, but when something's going to happen, you can feel it coming.
You can taste it. It's palpable. Yeah, palpable. Yeah. And I call it the heat wave, like when it hits you in the back of your neck and you're like, all right, let's go. It's always like, look at you. I always look at my shoes. Somebody told me that once. I always make sure your shoes are tied. So I'm like, no, like, you don't want to be like rolling around. And then like next thing you know, things are bad. Prior to what I was doing now, I was working, like I said, I was working in healthcare and I did security operations. And in the hospital I was at, it gets more mental health patients than anybody else. And like every day I'd like walk into the ER and I'd just be like, all right, I'm just gonna take off my jacket today. Like, cause I was a director, so I had like a suit and I had to do this whole thing. and I was just always like prevent. But it was something. It is probably the best use of any of those experiences, was like trying to like help people on the front lines of healthcare and stuff. But it was just like, oh man, it's so tough, especially in that environment, because you're trying to like mitigate things, but it's just can't help it sometimes. But
yeah, you have to be okay. It's really hard for us not to be in control, but you have to be okay to let things go. You got to be fucking slippery sometimes. Like, be sticky, dude. You got to be a little slippery, dude.
You got to be slippery. Yeah. You got to be slippery when you're in your hide, when you got your ghillie suit on, and you're just thinking to yourself, you're like, man, I wish I didn't do this NDOC course. I'm too far into it now. You know what I mean?
Dude, you're making me
did you like being a sniper?
You're making me think of WAP right now, like the way you're doing it, like getting sticky. No,
bro, dude, sounds like your NDOC was lit. If that's what happened,
dude, it was so the parts that sucked about it, I was stationed in Fairbanks, Alaska. So if you're training in Fort Greely, where it's like 60-mile-an-hour winds, it's -50, it's not fun. And at that time, it's not across all units, but at the time we had leadership that was like, oh, if you're a sniper, you're not setting up in the fucking tent with everybody else. Like, you're in your 3-layer sleeping bag under a poncho. Have fun on your field props, So I didn't like getting chilblain like 3-4 times a fucking day, and all that
out there just glassing.
Yeah, but because of having hard leadership and being a morally and ethically sound individual going into there, that all honestly kind of fucked me up on deployments. So my second deployment, when I was actually a sniper team leader, but it was for the betterment, I think, of the company. Whereas like a lot of snipers in the Army I'm not trying to make a broad statement. A lot of them are shammers. Like, hey, we'll go out on a mission once every 3 weeks, like do their sniper mission every 3 weeks. It's like, if I didn't have a sniper mission coming up, like I put on a fucking M320 grenade launcher and an M4 and rolled out with dudes. Like, can I go out? Let's go out. Like,
yeah,
I want to be there. I want to help. I don't want to sit around on the sidelines watching guys get fucked up, So I enjoyed it because I had freedom to do that. I answered to the first sergeant and company commander, right? So I could go up to them and say, like, I have a fucking plan, or let me get in on this, put me on QRF right now,
That's fascinating.
So
most snipers don't do that.
Right.
Nobody knows what they do. No, like nobody knows what they do ever. A good friend of mine, he's passed. His name was Rob Richards. Recent. Everybody knows who Rob Richards is. He's the guy who peed on the bodies. But he would always come to me, and I remember we'd be briefing. He's like, "Hey, where are you gonna be?" And I'd like show him. He'd be like, "Ah, man, I'm not going there." And like he'd go somewhere else. Right? It was just fun to do it. And I remember when the NDOC came around, he'd asked a bunch of people to do it, and I even thought about it for a while. But I was like, "No, man, I got a pre-scape." Like I went from a team leader to, at that time I was acting squad leader. I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I want to be somebody's boot, like bottom of the barrel again. And it's this very, very small world. It's like, if you go combat arms, then you get like infantry direct action, and then you get like the subsets inside of it. Like it's the smallest of small groups. So it's, especially because nobody really knows. They're like, oh, there's the snipers, and they just like piddle paddle off and go sit on a roof and call you in the middle of a patrol. Honestly,
with their long ass hair and.
Yeah, your hair is shorter than it was when you were on deployment. Yeah, for sure.
Seriously, yeah. Well, because you can never like taking a shower was like me and Yabara like washing each other over pallets with water bottles. Like, so you never had shampoo. So if you could grow it out, and it would just like stick wherever you put it anyway, because all the dirt and shit, Was,
yeah.
Dude.
No, those are the days.
Yeah,
those are simpler times. You bust open a bottle of crystal water and you just hose yourself down. Cristal, whatever I can't remember what it was. It was the water from Dubai. I hated it, but
oh yeah,
that's how I paid for college,
dude. Yeah, no shit, dude. Like if I didn't have that for college fund, man, I don't know if I would have gone.
Yeah, no, and that's reminds me. It's one of the things I like talking about the most. Like I always say, not everybody had to join the military. Their parents probably loved them, and I'm not upset about that. I wanted to serve my country, and I don't think everybody has to. I think it's or needs to. I don't think it's good or bad if you don't. I think everybody has a journey they have to take, and for me there was no other option. There was no scholarships. I was definitely not mature enough to commit to anything, and because of that, I became a first generation college graduate. I got a master's, and now I hold cardboard for a living. So it's a real Cinderella story, but it changed the direction. Like my family has shifted, like from a point where I come from, very, very much blue collar background. And everyone always told me to get a trade growing up. That was a big thing. I remember I told my grandmother I had an MBA, and she asked me what team I played for. And I was like, no, 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 the Bulls. I play for the Bulls. Like, I don't know.
You say now you're holding cardboard, and we'll wrap this up here in a few because I know we got families to get to and everything. But what you're doing is it's needed. It's like I was saying, that bridging the gap thing, and the humor too. The humor part of it is needed, especially in how crazy this fucking world has gotten, especially the past few years. And a little bit of humor online, some guys can go, or gals, or whoever, people can go look at and get a little chuckle, or sometimes it's something serious and it can make them think about what's happening.
That's ultimately what I'm trying to do every time. I'm trying to make people think about their experience.
And that's needed in life. And I think that's why the one you posted the other day resonated with so many people, because of what had happened and what is happening, and got shared so much. It's making people think. It's not just a guy holding cardboard anymore. That might have been what it was when you started it, but like you see your following going up the way it's going up. There's a reason for that. You're doing something right, and you're onto something. And I think it's really fucking cool what you're doing.
That means a lot. It's I mean, I did think about telling you guys like I needed a moment. I did think about that, but I'm really big on commitment. And it felt facetious to say that I would do it, because there has been like more input in my life for the past 48 hours than I could have ever anticipated. And then that's what I don't want to be grandiose about it, but that's where the responsibility aspects come from. Right. Because like, you start getting information, you start learning about these, these Marines and the sailor and stuff. And you're just like, man, they were kids, then I start doing like soft math in my head. And I'm like, if I'd stayed in, where would I be? I'd be like a, platoon sergeant, maybe a company gunnery sergeant, something like, okay, like that's the age of people I would have been in charge of. And it's just like, wow, it's already been put into place. And, especially seeing, we're always going to leave Afghanistan. That was something that was made, decision was made at the highest level. But now more than ever, it seems there's this moment where the world has become drastically aware of how different the rest of the world is. I think it was safe to say.
Because
sorry,
I think because
it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah, because Georgia just shared something, and it was like, where's everybody now talking about, what fucking gender, race they are, right? Like, it's like, because when big things happen, everything else becomes trivial.
Because you get this real world thing. Like I always tell people all the time, like, you don't understand, like this is a part of the world that's lived away since the earth hath been made, right? They have houses made out of dirt. Like they don't even, I remember we showed people the flag in like 2011. They're like, what's that? And I was like, that's your country's flag. And they're like, bro, it's a country. Like they had no, I showed them a picture of Hamid Karzai, who's the president. And I was like, that's your president. He like came through and did like one of those things, and we set up a cordon. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like some old dude, I don't care. Like I got to move these goats from here to there.
They've got bigger problems.
Well, yeah,
I think there was a large part of the population until the last 2 weeks didn't even know we were still in Afghanistan.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
For sure, yeah.
And I mean, one of the only reasons I know is because I kind of keep myself educated on stuff, and I have a lot of friends who've been there or are going to be going there again, but I think a lot of the population had no idea. They thought the war was over years ago, and obviously it's not quite yet.
No, and I mean, time will only tell like what happens next. I mean, it's the eyes of the world are upon us now more than ever, and I think this is a moment we should all take to realize like the reality of the situation we're in, right? In a place where water is scarce, where you see, people holding up their children and then just passing them off to a random stranger because that's the best option they have.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope that sears into their minds like a brand upon cattle in a field. Like the thing I keep going back to when people ask me how I feel about it is like, I need you to, people seen that video, people holding on to like the C-130 taking off. I was like, what you really need to think about there is that person said that this is the best option, right? maybe I can hold on. Maybe they'll stop. Maybe they'll let me in. Maybe something will happen. But this is option number one. There is no option number two. I'm gonna hold on to the side of this plane taking off.
Yeah.
Yeah. And people that are unaware of that and can't facilitate can talk about how progressive they are, but can't really empathize with that. But then talk about what the fucking Kardashians are doing, whatever else. It's like they're in a real rude awakening when something really bad happens, or when any country realizes, you know what, America's fucking weak. It's full of ass hats that are worried about bullshit other than keeping it real.
We have soft problems. We have like real soft problems.
Yeah. And so what if a country really does say, you know what, fuck you to us? We have I don't know. They're in for a rude awakening when something bad happens. I'm not talking about COVID. I mean, something real drastic that really starts fucking people up, whether it is a meteor or from climate change or a war.
Pretty big fucking hurricane from what I've heard. That's heading.
Dude,
I don't even know where Nashville would be correlated to that. Do you guys?
It's in the path.
Yeah.
I mean, what little knowledge I have about hurricanes, bro, it's moving up this way.
Yeah.
But dude, there's lots of, but the same kind of guys are responding to that. There's civilians just
Team Rubicon's a big veterans organization started by Jake Wood. It's a bunch of veterans and first responders, people who want to get out and help and be a part of that. I mean, everyone's responding to the same type of thing. And, there are these moments where, trauma itself is a very complex, it's a Rubik's Cube of emotion. But what I think we miss in it is the knowledge and blessing that comes from it. Because once it happens, the range of feelings and perspective that you have, like, all get blown away, right? And so many of us have these very, very soft lives. Like, it's stupid. I was telling my daughters this other day. I was like, you can drink. I was like, there aren't many countries where you can drink the water that comes out of the bath, right? And we can do that here. Like, that's how crazy it is. Most places don't have like running water, but you can drink the water that comes out of the bath. You can drink the same water that comes out of the tap. And I'm like, oh, I never thought about that. And so it's just, those are the things that have like conditioned, I feel, us a lot of ways that it's inadvertently distanced everyone who has these really complex experiences from being in the military, from being any type of frontline healthcare service, first responders, law enforcement, to where everyone gets in these kind of quarterback positions, being like, bro, I don't know about you, but I would have done something different. And like, that just kind of, that's the one thing that really kind of bothers me, is how all of life has shifted to like a talking head segment of like, yeah, I wouldn't have done that. I mean, nobody would have done the wrong thing if they had all the information, but it's never put in that perspective.
Yeah.
And that's really what I hope comes out from this, is like, there's no denying it. The digital era, things are being uploaded using things like WhatsApp and Signals. You're seeing it real time. People that are interpreters and their families are running, they're in hiding, they're trying to find a way to get out because they've been enveloped by this chaos that is the forces that are taking over this country. And I hope we don't let the hindsight of history be the only thing we learn from. I hope we learn in real time from it.
Yeah. Even if the minimal outcome is just to get the person who's extremely disassociated from real things to say, you know what, I'm aware of this and that sucks. At least acknowledge, empathize with a situation other than your own egocentric life.
Yeah.
And that's at least a step. Like, hey man, you acknowledged it. That's fucking awesome.
I think that's happening. I think with the, like I said, unfortunate shit that's happened the past few days, the whole world's watching now. And like I said,
I feel seen more than ever because of it too.
I bet you do.
Yeah.
And there's, like I said, there's people that probably didn't know we were there, and now they do. And it sucks that this is why they do, but it's good to have a perspective and to understand that there's people hurting out there, and we could have it much worse,
Absolutely.
But all right, we'll go ahead and wrap it up. I do appreciate you doing this, because I do know it's been kind of a crazy few days for you.
Yeah. It's been crazy for all of us. I'm really honored.
Dude,
really honored.
I'm really glad we did this. We've had most of the people we have on here, we kind of know beforehand. And we have had a handful of people we don't really know until we sit down and talk. And it's always like, okay, this could go one of two ways. We don't know much about them, other than like with you, we've had people tell us you were a good dude. So it's like, okay, hopefully they were right, and
I'll pay him. Tell me who it is. I'll pay him.
Well, you didn't let us down, man. You were awesome. So we appreciate you doing this.
I'll take it. No, the honor and privilege is mine. I think the most important thing we do in this time is actually have conversations that have some some meaning to them. And the reality is our country's in a very hard place, and we've experienced a loss that will echo through history. And I feel honored to be able to spend this time with both of you. So thank you.
All right, man. Thank
Absolutely,
you.
Man.
I appreciate it.
All right.